Suey, how y'all doing? Suey! What's good, everybody, and welcome to Bodybag Podcast. I'm Chris Thomas, and with me, as always, Broke Rider Dave.
How we doing, everybody?
We're talking my final pick of this season.
Yes.
I guess we know what my wheelhouse is because I've given us one legitimate horror movie, a horror. We've just slowly started going more comedic with my picks because now we're in what is to me just a straight up comedy: Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Wait, what was your second pick again?
Tremors.
Tremors. Yeah.
So my choices have been getting steadily funnier.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if we did Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I know we had talked about it during Cabin in the Woods because it's weird because they're very different movies but have a very similar feel.
Yes. And I think they came out around the same time period too.
And I watched Tucker and Dale versus Evil way more than I watched Cabin in the Woods.
See, I watch Cabin in the Woods more than I watch Tucker and Dale.
And, I'm also going to put it on the same level as Leslie Vernon because it's like taking a genre and then going behind the scenes of it.
Yeah.
But as always with our movie reviews, we can't just dive right into that. We have to tease a little bit. We had homework we had to do.
Homework, yes.
Which you had texted me the other day that you wanted to make sure that we keep doing this homework stuff into next year.
Yeah, because, this is the last time we're going to sign homework for the season, and I have a lot of choices I could give you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're like, oh, man, I don't know which one.
I have like a list on my phone, like, all right, this is what I'm going to give Dave, but I want to give him all of them. I've been trying to give you, I've been more miss than hit when it came to assigning you homework this year, this season, but I guess we'll see. So first off, let's say what our homework was. You gave me a Japanese horror called Remember.
Yep. And you gave me Repo, the genetic opera, a body horror type musical.
Yeah, so two very different ones. I've been trying to like give you something completely different each time.
Yeah.
And so who do you want to go first?
I could go first.
All right, so I gave you Repo the Genetic Opera for a couple of reasons, but I'll go into that as you just go ahead and take it away.
Okay, so Repo the Genetic Opera story revolves around a girl with an illness, and her room's kind of like her prison, but she keeps sneaking out. But it's also in the world where you could get organs or any type of plastic surgery for a price, and if you don't pay it, the Repo Man will come kill you and remove the organs.
Was it Gene Tech? Was that the name of the...
Gene Tech, yeah.
They have a stronghold on, like, if you want a kidney, they'll give you a kidney. If you want a pace, whatever.
They're a complete monopoly, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen Repo Man, the movie, multiple times, really enjoyed it. So, the premise similar, but the stories are completely different.
That's another reason why I gave it to you, because I knew that you had seen Repo Men with Jude Law and Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, love that movie. And now I understand why people have a problem with that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just by how different these are.
Yeah, and because I believe this one is this one is different, and you can tell when Repo Men with Jude Law came out that they only took that idea and
they just took the premise and just completely different story.
And yes, because that's why I was sitting here thinking, I was like, all right, if you've seen that, don't expect that movie because it's not.
Yeah, no, it was not. I mean, it was pretty good.
Now, this is definitely a cult movie.
Yeah,
and I don't know how you are. This is like our first musical, I think, that we have done on the show.
I've never really been big on like horror musicals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not big on the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Neither am I, but I think that's because back in the day I had dated this chick who was super duper into it.
Yeah.
And really loved it. That when I watched it for the first time, I was like...
I've gone to the theater like 4 or 5 times to do like the whole Rocky Horror Picture thing at the theaters.
Yeah.
The whole Time Warp and everything, but yeah.
I think it was just because it was like she built it up so much that when I was like watching, I was like, this is all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
So, I think...
there was only like a couple problems with this movie.
But yeah, you can go ahead. I kind of knew that it was either going to be hit or miss with you, but I kind of wanted to I threw it in for a couple of other reasons, which I'll get into.
Yeah. Has Paris Hilton in it?
That's one of the reasons.
She's okay.
Yeah, she wasn't a problem in this one.
Not a problem at all in this movie. My main problem with this movie, as much as I love Alexis Vega, Spy Kid and everything,
yep,
her voice isn't strong enough to lead a musical.
I do agree with that.
Because there's sometimes where she sounded really good, other times I'm like, oh, that's not great.
No, her singing was definitely my least favorite part of the people singing.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. But a side thing about that Paris Hilton thing, from what I heard, she actually put up some of her own money to help make this movie. Like I heard,
really?
I heard that she had like did a show or something like that, or did an appearance of something, and then put the proceeds to like help like fund like the costume and wardrobes and all that business.
Okay. I mean, visually, this movie's great.
Yeah, it's a fun for
the effects and just the way it's filmed. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I mean, I have problems with the movie too, but I mean, visually, it's fun to watch visually.
Yeah, and it's also like a movie that kind of lingers with you afterwards too. I mean, the way it differs is kind of like in the Jude Law movie. Jude Law like falls in love, so he doesn't do his job. This one, the owner of Gene Tech, was in love with the Repo Man's wife, and now he wants the Repo Man to go kill his wife's best friend. His dead wife's best friend.
Yeah, she didn't reciprocate his affections, and then didn't he like poison her?
Yeah, he poisoned the medicine that the Repo Man, because he's originally a doctor.
Yeah.
That he was giving his wife to try to make her feel better. He poisoned it.
And Repo Man
everyone thought the Repo Man killed her, so to keep him out of jail, he became a Repo Man.
Now, what did you think of Repo Man himself?
He's pretty good.
From Man from Old Buffy.
That's where he's from.
That's the other reason why I recommended it, because I was like, I remember you mentioning that you were familiar with Buffy, so I figured.
I haven't watched Buffy since like I was 10 years, but yeah, that's why he looked familiar. I'm like, I know him from somewhere.
Well, we need to at least say what the guy's name is. I can't just say the Repo Man, because I've seen that dude in plenty of things, and I like him as an actor.
Anthony Head.
Yeah, Anthony Head. Yeah, he was my favorite part of the whole movie.
I think. I like the grave robber. He's probably my favorite character of this one.
He is the main composer of it.
Is he?
He's the main composer, and he was also it was going to be between this one and another horror musical that I was going to recommend to you last time, which was called The Devil's Carnival, where he plays. It's another horror musical and it has him as the devil, and he does the music for that as well. But seeing as how musicals are kind of hit or miss for you, I probably won't recommend that one.
Like, he doesn't do much in the story, but when he's in the story,
he sells Zydrate.
Yeah, the drug that's used to sedate people for surgery. He sucks it out of the dead bodies and sells it on the street.
Because we're in this world where it's not just if you need like a kidney, you can get a kidney. It's this is a world where people love plastic surgery and enhancements and stuff like that. So
yeah, and it kind of leads to like one of the best scenes in the movie where Paris Hilton's on stage starting to sing and her face falls off.
Yeah, because she's addicted to Zydrate and surgery.
Yeah, but it was a good recommendation.
Yeah, and I was recommending it to you, it was more a recommendation of we've never done a musical before.
Yeah,
and two, it had a cast that I thought was like for a stacked cast who has Anthony Head, Vega, and Paris Hilton's in it. And I kind of wanted to see how you thought about Paris Hilton, since we've only ever done House of Wax with her in it.
Yeah, I mean, the two movies we've seen her in it, she was never the problem in those movies.
And I think that you and I are still some of the only people who defends her in that movie.
In House of Wax, there's a lot of problems with that movie.
She was playing the part. Yeah,
she's just not that problem in the movie.
She's just playing the part that, like, if it was anybody else, they would have played it the exact same way.
Exactly. Not saying she's like a super talented actress or anything, but from what I've seen her in,
I thought she's well.
Good, yeah.
I thought she sang well in this too.
Yeah, she's a pretty decent singer as well, so give her flowers.
Okay. Before you go into like kills or ratings or scenes or whatever, what did you think the actual musical numbers?
They were really good.
I had that.
They're not catchy though, like in other musical.
There's two that I think are pretty. A lot of it's operatic.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the style of the. I mean, it's called Repo the Genetic Opera.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will say, at one point for my phone ringtone, I had that when they're it's near the end where they're putting on that show at that opera house.
Everyone's talking about going down at the opera tonight.
That used to be my ringtone at one point.
That's probably the best song from the movie.
When that guitar, when the beat drops, I was like, oh,
yeah.
That's a cool ringtone. That, and I think the Grave Robber song is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean they're good songs. They're just not too many that are catchy.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I mean, I'm not humming most of the songs, but
yeah.
But were there any? I don't remember if there's any real notable. Well, there's a couple deaths. Death or scene of the movie.
Blind Mag when she died.
Oh yeah, she was like
she rips her own eyes out, and then Rhodey just kind of cuts the line on her suspension cable, and she just
gets impaled
on a fence.
Yeah, because those eyes were from Jinko.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be repossessed, so
she just, instead of having the Repo Man come out, she just ripped her own eyes out.
Yep. That was pretty good effects in that one.
That I will say that also, I did like the style, because some of it looks like a comic book at some point.
Yeah.
Which I always think is pretty cool. And then just the world that you're living in this, I think is pretty neat.
Yeah. But it's dark, it's grimy, yeah.
Yeah. But when it comes down to it, what go ahead and break down your honest score for it.
Okay. I think story, I'm going to give it a 6. And then when it comes to technicals, I'm going to give it an 8, because, like I said, it's really well shot.
I don't know what the budget was for it, though, but
No. It had to be a pretty decent budget, because if not, that's even more impressive.
I was about to say, something tells me it probably didn't have a huge budget.
$8.5 million.
All right. I mean, that's not super high, but it's not super, I think the budget was used pretty good.
Really well. Enjoyment, I'm going to give it a 7.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit more than I thought you were going to give it.
Yeah, so was 21 out of 30. Pretty good movie.
All right, well, that's actually a better score than I thought you were going to give it.
Yeah, even though Rotten Tomatoes has it at 37%.
Yeah, we don't go by Rotten Tomatoes anymore.
No, they're awful.
And it is funny because I do, like I said, I do my own ratings, and then I go back and then I see what Rotten Tomatoes says, and I'm like, especially when we went back and we were like, there's no way that you can have, like, what was it, not Soul Survivors, Urban Legends 2 for Final Cut at like a 4 or 14 or something like that.
14%, yeah. And that's just not fair, yeah.
Yeah, so. All right, so that's cool.
All right.
So you gave me another, this one was a Japanese horror movie.
Yeah.
Because the other one was now I'm gonna go ahead and say this off the bat, and I'm not gonna give it any points deducted for it. I don't know. The dubbing was a little weird for me. I think
Netflix is always bad with dubbing.
I would have much preferred it if it was subtitled.
Yeah, Netflix's dubbing is just not great, but
so I'm not gonna put that as a point against the movie itself. But as I was watching, I was like, oh man, these voices don't sound like they should go with these people at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I basically gave you the Japanese Breakfast Club with the time loop.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, this feels like a little bit of Breakfast Club, a little bit of Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
And now you were taking a gamble. But I think Dave this season is trying to get me to like movies with kids in them. Because this is another one where it's a kid-centric movie.
Yeah, it's kid-centric, and there's a decent amount of CGI, so that was kind of a risk, but I was like...
Yeah.
It being like time loop centric, I'm like, that's more into Chris's wheelhouse. He likes those types of stories, so maybe.
Now, before I go into it, I will go ahead and say, as we kind of hinted, this is called Remember.
Yeah.
It takes place in a Japanese high school, and a group of completely different kinds of kids. You have your nerd, you have your social outcast, you have your, I guess, preppy girl would be it. She's dating like a college bartender, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you have like the I don't know if you'd say he's a bad boy. Social misfit, I'd say.
Yeah.
And then you have like a regular, just like average student.
Yeah.
Go through regular day, and at the end of the day, they get killed by this creature. Now, I will say this: the creature you don't see right off the bat, which I think is always a wise choice.
Yeah.
But the movie doesn't start like that. You get a 5-minute intro of a little girl who gets basically hacked up to death by this off-screen killer.
Yeah.
Grisly murder of a little girl. Then the movie starts with these students going through the day, and then at the very end of the day, they're all at the school. They get killed by this unseen creature.
Yeah, the main character thinks it was just like a really weird dream that she had.
Wakes up. Now, this is what I will say. They don't... I mean, that lasts for like 2 minutes of, oh, that must have been a bad dream, because she goes to school the next day, and the kids who got killed by this creature the night before all remember it. So we don't have this whole day of like, oh, it must have been my imagination. And it's like, no, we just go right into it. All right, something happened. We need to figure out what the fuck is going on here.
Yeah, because there's like 6 of them like got sucked into this time loop.
And there was this one nerd kid who apparently had been researching it, I guess, ever since it happened. And it turns out they are part of this. They call it a game, a body search game kind of thing.
Yeah, body search, yeah.
Where it's basically they realize they're in a time loop, which they are destined to get killed every single day. Yeah. by this creature, until they find the missing body parts of the victim of basically the creature that's killing them, and they all have to like put all the pieces back together essentially.
Yeah.
So I will say this, because I was telling you before we started, I am glad that because this is the second day we were going to be recording.
Yeah.
We were going to record earlier in the week, but I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
And I was like 20 minutes into this movie, and I was just tired, and I was just like, meh, whatever. I'm glad that I postponed it, because I finished watching it today, and I caught it I got it on a better day.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't going to give it a fair run if I was going to try to watch it then.
Yeah.
The kids, they grew on me. I didn't hate them. I didn't hate them, first off, aside from the awful dubbing.
Yeah.
But I like that. First off, they immediately start working together.
Yeah.
There's none of this like, oh, you guys do it on your own, I'm going to be over here, or you guys don't know. No, they just immediately go like, all right, we got to start figuring this shit out.
Yeah, there was only one like holdout. He was just like,
yeah, for the most part,
chilling for like the first couple of days. And just like, I guess I'll work with these guys.
Yeah, but for the most part, all of them are kind of working together.
Yeah.
Although I will say a little bit to the movie's detriment, because it feels like they formed a bond way too quickly. They did have a montage where they were, they start working together, and they're like, oh, I found this body part, and I found this, because I guess it's like every time you find a body part, it like saves your game progress.
Yeah.
So, oh, I found an arm. All right, so I don't have to find the arm the next day.
Yeah.
It's like even by day 3, they're like all laughing and having fun with this, like treating it like it's an actual game.
Yeah.
Which I kind of liked and kind of didn't like, but I kind of like it a little more just because it's just like, we're not going to be doom and gloom about this. Like, whatever. We're going to die, we're
going to figure this out, yeah.
We'll figure this out. We'll be, and although I will say, I think it's kind of sucky that they have to keep coming back to school.
Right?
Well, I mean, there was one day where they just, I think, skipped and went to the beach.
Yeah. Because I think they're stuck on like a Tuesday.
Which is an awful day to be stuck at school.
Right? Like, that's such a random day, like, man.
This movie, every time something happens that was a little bit like, something would happen that kind of made up for it.
Yeah.
The creature itself, at first you don't see it, and they make really good use of shadows. Yeah. You just see like a little girl silhouette. She's carrying around a doll that kind of looks like Sammy from Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
And there is CG. And you know what? Actually, there's a lot of violence and a lot of blood, but I wouldn't say it's gory.
It's well used.
It's well used. It's not like there's people getting chopped up. There's people like there's gallons of blood, but you don't necessarily see somebody getting hacked up to death.
No.
Which I think is is a point towards it. I was like, there is a lot of violence. There is a lot of people getting like their heads chopped off and impalements, but it doesn't seem gratuitous.
Yeah.
It's very weird to put, but it's a lot, but not over the top. So I think that was pretty cool. So they do this for a couple of days. There's also some inner storylines between. There's this one guy who's known this girl since like they were little kids.
Yeah.
And they had like a falling out at some point. They grow closer together, and in this aspect, it's like the Breakfast Club because all the they're very different people, but then they
all come together. Yeah,
they all start to bond, which is very sweet. I like that.
Yeah.
Now they're throughout their investigation, they're trying to figure out who this little girl is that got, or who this victim is that they're putting back together. They find out it's this body of this little girl. Did I miss it, or did they ever find out who killed her? Because or did they not find out who killed her?
I think they might have, yeah.
Because that might not have been important to the story. It might have just been like she got killed and we got to put her body to rest.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But either way, they find out it's a little girl, and they also find her doll, which was basically her best friend. Carried it with her everywhere. They find the doll during the day, and then it disappears. Next night, they're searching around, trying to do the more body parts finding. The doll fuses with the creature of the little girl and turns into this, like, hybrid monster.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a really cool monster.
I really like the monster in this movie.
Yes, I thought it was cool. Like, first off, they have, like, so this kind of gives you a little bit of everything of what you want. You have your creepy little girl, if that's what you're into. Like, creepy little girls don't really scare me. But it's there if you want that. Then they have, like, an actual cool creature it looks like it's made of hair. It looks like it's, like, I don't know why. It just the structure of it made me think it was just, like, a big hair creature. And with jaws that kind of open up like the mouth of a, what are those creatures in Stranger Things called? Demogorgon?
Yes. Yeah.
It kind of opens up its face like that and to eat people. It eats one of the teenagers. Next morning, they all trying to come together to find, or they always come together in the morning so they can figure out the game plan for the day.
Yeah.
But they can't find so and so. I forget her name. They can't find so and so, and then they come to find out if this creature eats you, it basically erases you from existence.
Yeah.
Now feels like there's actual stakes.
Yeah.
Because at this point, everyone is like, oh, ha, 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 whatever. We die, sure.
We get fucked up. Yeah, but whatever, yeah.
Even when they are dying sometimes in the thing, they're just like kind of laughing it off sometimes.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I kind of respect that. I like they're just like, well, damn, got me. I'll see you guys when we resurrect tomorrow.
Yeah. But yeah, now that the creature, if it eats them, they get erased from existence. Yeah.
They also later find out through other circumstances that if they finally get the creature like laid to rest, get the body parts all together, they all forget about each other. Yeah. So all the days that they had spent trying to like kill this creature and the bonds that they formed, they forget about each other.
Yeah.
So it's like, now it's just even more stakes. Now it's just finally come up with a game plan. Next day, they proceed to. I wrote it down because I don't know any other way I can say this, but it's a cool way to put it. They beat Depression's ass with concrete rebar and a chainsaw.
Yeah.
They find out that they were like, I think this creature chose us because it fed off of our loneliness, pretty much.
Basically, yeah. Because each of them were lonely in their own way.
Yeah. Even the preppy girl was, like, lonely. She thinks that her boyfriend was, like... No, she finds out that she's his side piece.
Yeah.
Then you have, like, the nerd, and then you have, like... you get their each individual backstories, but in some way or another, they're all lonely in their own way.
Yeah.
And through chainsaws, chains, and all sorts of stuff, they beat Depression's ass.
Yeah.
And... decapitate it and get the head, except for they lose 3 people in the process that got eaten, which is also weird that there's no security in this place. They're not being quiet. Like all these nights that they're like getting attacked, they're loud and there is no security.
Well, I took it as at the night when they're at the school, I take it as they're in like a different dimension.
Yeah, I guess I could
Because
see
the
that
chapel, the coffin and everything in looks completely different during the day than it does during their night.
And their stuff gets saved, kind of like a game anyway. So it does.
And all the damage to the school is not there in the morning.
Magically repaired.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to put it. I guess you could say that once it hits a certain nighttime, because once it hits a certain time, do they automatically like relocate to the school?
Yeah, they wake up at midnight in the school.
They wake up at midnight in the school. So
yeah.
So that's a good way to put it. It is kind of like its own little dimension at night.
Yeah.
Where I could definitely see this being a video game.
Yeah,
it kind of felt
based off a manga. I think
that's what I heard, but I could definitely see this being like a game that you could play with, like kind of like Phasmophobia. I could definitely see this being like a game.
Probably is a game in Japan.
Yeah. So they get the head. It's down to I don't remember the names of the last two. I can't remember really the names of any of them. I just remember them by who they are.
Kiko is the last girl, I think.
The final girl?
Asuka.
Mm-hmm. And her friend, the one that she has feelings for, who she definitely doesn't want to forget. She's basically the only one left standing at the end, and she's trying to get the head to the rest of the body, pretty much, to win the game.
Takahiro is his name.
And still continues to beat this thing's ass with like rebar and like metal sheets and stuff like that. It's just hitting this thing. Gets the head to the thing.
Yeah.
Day resets. It's the next morning. Next morning, she's seeing the news, and she says that like a body was discovered at the school where she is. It's obviously the body that they'd been putting together.
Yeah.
She has no recollection of anything. She's going to school. Everything seems like it kind of reset back to how it used to be.
Yeah.
Except at the very end, what's his name again?
Takahiro?
Yeah. Was it a pendant that he gave her?
Tie clasp, I believe.
What was that?
Like a tie clasp.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he gave her.
Didn't he like re-give it to her at the very end? And it is like he kind of remembers.
No. Somehow she still had it, and then she drops it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because even though they don't remember, all 6 of these kids get grouped up to volunteer.
That's right.
To work the fair after school that day. Yeah.
So it's like they'll naturally like open back up again because they became friends very quickly.
Yeah.
So I kind of like leaves it open to like, well, it's kind of sweet. Like they win the game, and their prize is that they won't be lonely anymore because they will eventually form that friendship again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is a very hard. Usually you don't get that kind of a heartfelt ending in a horror movie.
No.
So what did I think of it? Oh, well, let me choose my kill real quick. I'll say the first person that got eaten, just because I thought it's the first design of this new monster that we see.
Yeah.
And I like that it opens up its jaws like 3 different directions and then eats this person. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, the way that I usually score these things when I'm sitting here watching, like within the first 20 minutes, I already have a number in my mind. And then I have like boom, boom, boom. And then that number tends to change as the movie goes along.
Yeah.
So, like, if I have technicals out of 5 at the beginning, I keep watching it. If it gets better, I raise it a point or 2. If it gets worse, I lower it a point or 2. But, like, off the cuff, I usually have a set number.
Okay.
So I will say this. The number that I have now is higher than the numbers that I started with. So that's good.
Yeah.
Technicals, I'm giving a 7.5.
Okay.
For stuff that had CG, it had a good mixture of both CG and a bit of practical effects in it.
Yeah.
This one CG wasn't awful.
Japan usually does pretty well with that, so.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. It was also the fact that it was Japanese, like it definitely had a different feel than like the one from Korea, the Gonjiam.
Yeah.
This one actually, so technical 7.5. It was good. I have no problem with the technicals, and it had pretty cool uses of shadow at the very beginning. I respect any movie who doesn't show their villain right off the bat.
No, builds up to it, yeah.
Even had some heartfelt music at some points. That was kind of tugging on the heartstrings when they're like kind of talking about the kids and their like loneliness and all that business.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's kind of sad.
Right?
Story. Story I gave a 7.
Okay.
I like the aspect of it also being a game.
Yeah.
It did feel like a game, like I said, like a Phasmophobia game where you would play with some friends.
Yeah, it kind of loosens up the feeling of this movie.
Yeah, and
because this like topic should seem like it would be pretty heavy. Finding body parts of a dismembered little girl.
They're laughing through it though. They're like,
yeah,
but I mean, they're laughing, but not like in a oh, that's very
off-putting.
Off-putting. They're laughing is like, well, this is it. This is what it is. You know, if we're gonna die, if we're gonna be dying every day, might as well like try to. What are we gonna do? Be doom and gloom about it the whole time?
Right.
Also, I think it's a cooler dynamic when you have a group of people reliving the same day instead of it just being
one person.
One person. It adds a different dynamic, which I think is cool that you can explore. Because usually with these kind of movies like this, or Groundhog's Day, or Death Day, or anything like that, it's usually just one person.
Yeah.
Though I did say earlier on, I think that the bonding happened a little too quickly. I understand why, but I think you should have had the montage first and then have them. They kind of flip flopped it where it showed them like being close the very next day, and then the montage of all of them doing that stuff. I think that should have been flipped.
Yeah.
I feel 7. Yeah. And enjoyment, I give a 7 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought this for genre and stuff that I'm kind of going into it a little bit hesitantly.
Yeah.
With kids, and it's I already said that little girl like stuff doesn't like scare me or anything like that. The kids grew on me, and every time I did have a small criticism or a weird line read or so. Also, I also have to take into consideration some of the stuff that they probably say is also a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Like if something sounds a little bit weird, I might be like, oh, that might just be like a normal saying in Japan or something. Or that might
exactly.
be a normal thing.
It doesn't translate right in English.
So I did give it that benefit of the doubt too. But for the most part, yeah. And I thought it was a cool creature design.
Yeah.
It was a nice ending battle too. At the very end with the chainsaws and stuff like that, I was like, yeah, chop the bitch's head off.
Yeah, they gave it hell. Like, hell yes. Let's do it.
I was like, beat his ass.
Yeah.
So I was rooting for him at the end. So so it was a 7 enjoyment, 7 story, 7.5 technical.
21.5 out of 30. Pretty good score.
So just a little half point above yours.
Yeah.
Or over the one I gave you.
Yeah. So it was a good week for homework.
Yeah, good homework.
Yeah.
So let's assign our final homework.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to give you a movie that I think is a contender for movie of the year for me so far this year. M. Night Shyamalan's
in the
Knock at the Cabin.
Knock at the Cabin, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, give me a second because I know you've talked about a couple that you liked.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember you saying that you liked Knock at the Cabin, and this is
Infinity Pool was the other one that I have like in the running right now.
This is going to be interesting because the last time I watched an M. Night Shyamalan movie was the abysmal Avatar movie.
It's M. Night Shyamalan. It's a coin flip if it's going to be good or not.
And this is coming from a guy who has defended M. Night Shyamalan. I said that I think that he would be right at home at A24.
Yeah.
So, okay. Knock at the Cabin. Is that on Shudder?
It's on Peacock, I believe.
All right. All right, so I have... God, we really do need to do homework next week because I have like 4 different movies right here that I want to recommend you.
Yeah.
All right, so I gave you... You said Repo Genetic Opera was okay. You said it was a pretty decent one.
Yeah.
You liked The Burbs.
Yeah. So you got a streak of 2 going, man. Come on.
I got a streak of 2. Okay. I need to go with one. All right. Well, I don't know if you'd be into that one. I have one, but I don't know. Like, this is more of a sci-fi creature feature. Now, I don't know if we consider creature features in the same vein as like.
I mean, we reviewed Tremors, and creatures kind of fit in horror.
Because I was gonna recommend you if you've never seen the movie Evolution.
Seen it.
All right.
Yeah.
What do you think of that movie, by the way?
Oh, it's a good movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
All right. So that was gonna be one. I was like, all right. I was gonna recommend you Teeth. All right. It's gonna be between these 2 movies. I'll let you choose between these 2 movies.
Okay.
And if you've seen one of them, that'll make it easy. If you haven't seen either, then okay. You can either see. Have you seen the movie Would You Rather?
With Brittany Snow?
With Jeffrey Combs?
Is it the one where they play the game Would You Rather and the girl survives, so with money for her brother, and then
So you have
he kills himself on that. Yeah.
All right, so that leaves with Eli Roth movie, produced movie called Clown. Have you seen that?
You said clown?
Clown.
Isn't that the movie where the guy puts on like the clown suit and it doesn't come off?
All right, so you have seen that one?
Yeah.
All right, so you've seen all 4 of these. All right, you'll have to give me a moment.
All right.
Oh, I'll give you the movie that I was going to give you before I gave you the Burbs. I'm going to give you Death Becomes Her.
Death Becomes Her?
That has Meryl Streep, Bruce Willis, Goldie Hawn.
Okay.
So Death Becomes Her. That one's pretty macabre, pretty funny. So I think you'll get it's I don't know, it's not like I laugh at it, but it's a mixture of macabre and funny.
All right.
So we got Death Becomes Her, and we have Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah.
All right. I think that'll be a good way to end it out.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm pretty confident with Death Becomes Her because that was going to be one that I was going to recommend to you anyway before the Burbs.
Yeah.
All right, so we're kind of ending. I think we're kind of finding each other's sweet spots.
Yeah.
Started out a little bit rough. Well, mostly me. So
I've had one miss.
That was 30 Miles from Nowhere.
Yeah.
Because you didn't like Intruders, or The Intruder. You didn't like Tetsuo, and you said it's not that you hated Lake Mungo. You just were boring to you.
It's a slow burn that just takes too long to get into.
And you are apparently correct because Julie Falgues said the same thing.
Yeah.
And you had given me Gonjiam, which I thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
Exorcist, which was kind of a cop out first one, just because that one's known for being a good horror movie.
Yeah, but you haven't seen it. I'm like, how are you doing this podcast? Never seen The Exorcist.
Yeah. So you gave me that one, Exorcist, and you gave me 30 Miles from Nowhere and
Ginger
Snaps, which I will probably say that of the ones that you've given me, I probably like Ginger Snaps the most.
Yeah, that one's a cult classic too.
And I think I've been giving you a lot of cult ones too. I think Tetsuo has a little cult following, and I know
I think so. Yeah,
Repo definitely has a cult following.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a cult one.
All right, so now this is kind of bittersweet. It's my final movie pick of personal favorites.
Just jumping into a wood chipper, man.
We're gonna jump into this movie like a college kid jumping into a wood chipper. Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yes.
One sentence sum up real quick in case you don't want to get too much spoiled. Tucker and Dale is just the story of a group of innocent college kids who just want to have a good time going camping and swimming, but they begin to get terrorized by a bunch of sadistic backwood hillbillies.
Or a simpler way to put it is miscommunication and prejudice leads to a lot of death.
Mm-hmm. Or if you want to put it more honestly, Tucker and Dale are just two friends who want to spruce up Tucker's new cabin, summer cabin, and
new vacation home. Yeah,
and these kids keep killing themselves all over his property.
Yeah.
Now, as I said before, I've probably watched this. I've watched this way more than Cabin in the Woods, and I have no idea why. It just, for me, I quote this movie too way more than Cabin in the Woods. And ironically, this is also a cabins in the woods kind of movie too. It takes place in a cabin in the woods. I mean, the movie is pretty much, if you've seen Leslie Vernon, again, I said it's also Leslie Vernon, it is taking a trope, in this case, backwoods hillbillies, murderous hillbillies, and showing it from a different perspective. You know, maybe the movies have had it all wrong all this time. Yeah.
I don't think so. I think this one was just
a fluke.
Yeah.
So, as I said in the beginning, Tucker and Dale, they're country boys, but I mean, they like to fish. They like to, do everything country, but they're not like dumb redneck hicks.
They're not even from the area. They're just going to fix up this vacation home that
they're just going to
Tucker bought.
Yeah. It's not. They don't live out in a cabin in the woods. This is, like he said, his vacation home.
Yeah.
I mean, but they wear like overalls. One has a beard. They like to fish. They, do the
real blue collar people.
Yeah, blue collar is more the words. Better way to put it. But they have a stereotypical hillbilly look with the overalls and the trucker hats and blah blah blah.
And the college kids get the wrong perception of them.
The college kids, however, are stereotypical college kids.
Yeah. Your usual college kids in these movies. But you get why they get the wrong perception of him, because when Dale first goes to talk to him, he's carrying a scythe.
He's carrying a scythe. They pass them on the road at first. They're both going to like this convenience store / gas station, and they have this. If you were as an outsider, if you were looking in, it would look like that they're just kind of like staring down these college kids and stuff like that. But you find out it's just because Dale sees one of the college girls. He's getting like a little mini crush on her, and he doesn't know. Dale is my spirit animal because he's nervous around new people, especially beautiful women.
Yeah,
he doesn't know how awkward like a certain interaction is until like after it's done. And he's a treasure trove of like useless trivia information. So he's my spirit animal.
And he just gets terrible advice from Tucker.
I mean,
like,
it was
just
good
laugh
advice.
And smile.
It's good advice, but he doesn't do it correctly. He's
in the right way. Yeah.
He said, "Hey, just go over to the college girls. Just introduce yourself, and just whatever they say, just smile and laugh. It builds confidence." So I don't know what he grabs the scythe for. I guess he just wanted to. I guess I can kind of understand because
like a nervous habit of just having something to hold with them.
Yeah, I get that. I used to do that with whenever I had to do stuff in if I had to give like a speech in college, I would always keep like a paper clip on me to like fiddle with my hand as just a nervous thing to do.
Yeah, just have something to do with your hand. Yeah.
And he grabs the scythe. He goes walking up to the college kid and he goes, "So, you guys going camping?" I was like, all right, dude, that's like the worst possible way he could have asked that.
Yeah.
And of course they get creeped out and like drive away. And I was like, so that's the kind of movie you're in for. It's just a bunch of misunderstandings like this.
Yeah.
And so early on, the movie starts building the groundwork for, like, they do the stereotypical thing where, like, even they get pulled over by the sheriff. I don't know why the sheriff pulls them over. I don't know if they were speeding or if they had a taillight out or something.
Broken brake light.
Pulls them over, and they're saying, "Yes, officer, we're going to my new summer home so we can make some repairs on it and spruce it up." And he's essentially the crazy Ralph kind of. Yeah. He's like, "You don't need to be. There's nothing but death that awaits you over in these parts.
Nothing but pain and misery up that way.
Nothing but pain and misery. All right, and you need to get that taillight fixed." So thank you, officer. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And Tucker's like, he's just probably jealous because he can't afford a summer home. And he's like, yeah, you're. Yeah. I love their optimism.
Right.
As they're driving, college kids get set up someplace in the woods. Usually, I would stereotypically call these kids like Chads, but the main head frat dude is named Chad.
Yeah.
And he gives us basically the campfire story. Basically, our Friday the 13th Part 2 campfire story of a massacre that happened like decades ago, where a group of college...
Just so you have it, the cabin that Tucker bought was a cabin owned by the guy who killed him.
Yeah. There was a massacre that happened decades ago where like a couple of hillbillies came and there was a bunch of like teenagers partying and stuff like that in the 70s, and hillbillies came in and like murdered and massacred all of them, supposedly except one who like got away. And Tucker and Dale, that's Tucker's new summer home. And
I love it because it has like bones hanging up.
Yeah, they get to the
Tucker's like, "Oh, baby, they're into archaeology."
They get Tucker and Dale get to this cottage, the cabin in the woods. They open it up, and what most of us would look and see like this dilapidated, like rundown cabin. They're like looking and going, "Oh my God, this is a mansion."
Yeah,
they're like, "Oh, you saying that this is a fixer-upper?" Which I got to be honest, if I saw stuff like that, like I'd kind of have that same feeling. I'd be like, if you just spruce this place up a little bit, this would be a nice little summer place. But if you're like college kids who are from like the better quote unquote part of town, you would look and see like all this rundown thing. But for I would say regular blue collar guys, which I would think that me and Dave here kind of fit that bill. We would probably look at that and be like, you know what? If you just give a couple of days and spruce this place up, this is pretty nice little place to hang out.
A nice little cabin, yeah.
Nice little cabin out here in the woods, get some fishing, and kind of get away from it all. But there's like also like newspaper clippings of like so-and-so slain, this many people gruesomely murdered and stuff like that. But the only thing Dale sees is a coupon amongst everything saying, hot dogs, buy 2, get 2 free.
Expires never.
Expires never. It's like, hell yeah, this place keeps getting better.
Right.
So it's but the place is in needing of some fixing up. There's like old tree stumps that need sawing down. There's like some stuff that needs digging up, and there's a specific old beam with nails
that Tucker leans against, and Dale has to push him out of the way so he doesn't get impaled by the nails.
Like they need to fix that. So it's a fixer-upper, but you know they're out there. I mean, that's what they dedicated the weekend pretty much for.
Yeah. So first night they decided they're going to do some fishing. Mm-hmm. Just get on the lake, do some fishing.
Hard day's work. They got there. They're all set. They're like, yeah, let's ease out the day with a little bit of fishing.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, at the same time, the college kids are like, why don't we go skinny dipping?
Yeah.
Which I don't understand anybody who wants to go skinny dipping like in a not that kind of lake. I mean well, I can understand like I've been like swimming out in like Pennsylvania lakes before, but
I don't think I'd go skinny dipping in them.
Not in this one. Not this one specifically looks like it would definitely have like leeches in it.
Yeah.
But I mean I've swam in something that kind of looks like a Camp Crystal Lake kind of lake. But this one looks more like a bog more than I don't know if it looked more marshy than anything.
It looks like a creek.
It looks like a creek.
Yeah.
But they go skinny dipping and Tucker and Dale's fishing. Then they're like, "Hey, what's that noise? I kind of want to see what they're up to." Tucker like steers the boat over towards them. Allison, who was one of the college girls, she's like our main college girl.
Yeah.
Chad is like the douchey frat boy. When I say Chad, he's literally a Chad.
Yeah.
And
with asthma.
Which
is so funny.
And then
you act like a badass.
Then you have the preppy sorority girl who is very Paris Hilton-y from late 90s, early 2000s. And then you have another random their token black man of their group.
Yeah.
Not to put it that way, but he kind of is. Pretty much just the only other dude there.
Yeah, the black guy, and then there's a black girl to go with them.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
All right, so they're all skinny dipping. They accidentally startle Allison, who she's kind of like separated herself from the group and everything, and she's kind of stripping down. She's not gonna get. This movie isn't gonna have anybody get butt naked. For some reason, this movie has a little more class than that.
Right.
She gets into her underwear and she's about to go skinny dipping, and then she gets startled when she sees Tucker down there. It's like, I wasn't expecting you to see. And then she like falls in the water. I guess she hits her head. Dale jumps in the water, gets her, like brings her on the boat. Now what the other people see is just two rednecks pulling their unconscious friend into a boat as they're saying, "We got your friend. We got your friend." Yeah. And they're like, "Oh my god, they got Allison!" And it really is funny because you can see it. You can see both ways.
Yeah.
All right, go on. I'm kind of talking
too much. So they take Allison back to the cabin because she's knocked unconscious, and they're like, "Oh, eventually her friends will come for her."
She wakes. Yeah, she's out in the bedroom with a head wrap.
Dale brings her breakfast, and she wakes up, gets startled, and he's like, "Oh, she doesn't like pancakes," and runs out of the room.
Yeah, she
makes her another breakfast, brings it in.
Because she wakes up in just this rundown cabin thinking that she got kidnapped.
Yeah.
And,
Dale explains the situation to her. She's like, "Oh, okay, that was nice of you guys."
Yeah, so...
And whatever. Yeah, and then...
Turns out Allison is pretty cool.
Yeah. So they start playing Trivia Pursuit. You got Tucker outside cutting up some wood. And at the time when the friends are going to come up to the door, Tucker cuts into a beehive, starts running out, swinging his chainsaw around.
Looking like a madman.
Yelling all crazy, yeah. Causes all these college kids to just run back into the woods.
Thinking, oh god, these are crazy people.
Crazy redneck gonna chop the chainsaw. And Tucker's running next to one kid, they're looking at each other. kid impales himself onto just a random branch in the woods.
How does he impale? He just runs like just as
Full
fast,
speed. He's running as fast as he can. Coof, straight
right into a sharp,
sharp piece of
sharp piece
branch.
of wood.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Dale is playing board games with Allison. They're kind of having a little sweet little bonding moment where, like, because Allison is the one that Dale was kind of crushing on back at the
convenience store. So
so he's kind of opening up a little bit, and she's kind of realizing, we were kind of wrong about because
we were wrong about these guys.
He's actually a sweetheart, and he's they're just out here trying to fix up this place, and turns out she's I think she's going to college to be a psychologist, I think.
Yeah, she's going to be a therapist.
Yeah.
And they start doing some work around the house because you find out Allison actually
she
grew up on the farm. Yeah.
Grew up with brothers, so I think she said, you either had to work or get out of the way or something like that. Or you had to basically earn your keep.
Earn your keep, yeah. So she starts building, digging out the trench for the outhouse.
This whole time they're pretty much just waiting for
her friends to come. Yeah,
her friends to come over. They're thinking, all right, they'll eventually come by, and she's like, well, I'll help you out while we're waiting.
Yeah. And at this point, they're digging. You got Tucker throwing wood into the wood chipper.
Oh yeah, after like he got stung up by a bunch of bees and everything. He got stung by a bunch of bees and was talking to Dale, and Dale was like, they were like, oh, I saw your friends out there. They must be allergic to bees because I saw them and they just like ran away.
Yeah.
so it's the misunderstandings are just like they think that he's attacking them. He's thinking that they're just being standoffish. And the college kids came across their friend who got impaled and thinks that it's Tucker and Dale who killed them.
Yeah.
And now they're going to plan an assault on the compound, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets them digging out this trench. And as they're digging, one of the friends comes up with this shivved up spear, screams, causes Dale to turn around, hits Allison in the head with the shovel.
Mm-hmm.
She's out cold. He tackles Dale into the trench and impales himself on the spear.
Meanwhile, on the other part of the yard,
Tucker goes and grabs the wood foot of the wood chipper. College kid dives right over the top of him, right into the fucking wood chipper.
So that is
is my
favorite scene.
Scenes. Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and spoil my death and everything of the movie. Yeah. This is my favorite overall scene of the entire movie.
Yes,
because it's funny on a number of different reasons. A, as a slapstick, because this college kid just completely misses his entire mark of trying to tackle Tucker and just dives head first into this wood chipper.
Yeah.
And two, it is Tucker's reaction. We should probably also at this point say who's playing who. I know Tucker is played by Alan Tudyk, and the guy playing Dale, he's from Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Tyler Labine. Kind of looks like Squirrely Dan from Letterkenny.
Yeah, that's exactly the look that he has.
Yeah, Katrina Bowden as Allison.
Those are the three, and just say who Chad is, because those are pretty much our four main.
Jesse Moss. I don't know what else he's been in. He was Jason in Final Destination 3.
I guess he was just one of the ones who got killed.
Yeah.
And the other reason why that is so funny, that wood chipper scene, is I'm just putting myself in Tucker's shoes. You're just out there doing yard work, and you're just mindlessly chucking wood into a wood chipper. And then you just turn around and there is a body in the wood chipper, and you're like, what? You don't know what is. You just turn around and
he grabs the legs and starts trying to pull them out, but to the college kid, it looks like he's stuffing them in.
He turns around, sees a body, and just starts screaming bloody murder. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And so that's two more bodies down. The guy who trips and falls on his own spear trying to attack Dale kills himself by impaling himself, and the guy who stupidly jumps headfirst into a wood chipper.
Yeah.
Allison is basically knocked out again.
Yeah.
They bring her back inside the house, and then they regroup. Tucker and Dale regroup and trying to figure out what is going on, and Tucker makes this revelation of, I know what's happening out here.
Suicide cult.
It's a suicide pact.
Yeah.
It's a suicide pact. These kids have made some kind of weird cultish agreement and started killing themselves all over the property.
And they want Allison to kill her too.
And he's like, and Dale's like, oh my god, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
No.
And so now.
And I love that Tucker's like, we can't go to the police. What am I supposed to say? Our kid just jumped into the wood chipper.
Hi-ho, officer. We've had a doozy of a day. Here we were minding our own business, making some improvements to my new house, then all of a sudden these kids started killing themselves all over my property.
Yeah.
And he's like, but that's what happens. Yeah, no one's going to believe that.
And the cop, I'm saying that's...
Yeah, the cop that gave him the warning shows up as they're trying to, like, move the... Well, they tried to get the body out of the wood chipper.
Yeah.
Which is basically just a lower torso at this point.
Yeah.
And so one of them, each of them carrying a severed part of the body. Who shows up? The cop.
Yeah. With the kids in the back seat.
With the kids in the back seat who found them and says, these guys are killing our friend. And it says that exact quote, line for line. Hi-ho, officer. You won't believe the kind of day we've had.
Yeah. And he's like, what about Allison? Well, she's just inside resting. She got knocked out.
No, wait, I'm trying to remember because he said, oh, yeah, you saying you have an unconscious girl in there? Yeah, she's in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Tucker's just sitting there listening. He's like, Tucker is obviously the one with the most common sense of Tucker and Dale, and he realizes how dumb this sounds and exactly how incriminating this sounds.
And so they're like, you can go outside and check on her if you want.
The college kids are in the back seat, like freaking out, like,
don't go inside.
Don't go inside because the cop kind of also has some common sense because he's like, he can tell that Tucker and Dale aren't like ruthless killers.
Yeah.
And he goes inside. They check on Allison, and they're like,
"It's like, well, she's not brain dead, so that's good."
Meanwhile, also at this point, Chad is also losing his fucking mind.
Yeah.
Chad is like getting really into this, like, it's us versus them. It's it's survival of the fittest. We're it's either going to be us walking out of here alive or it's them. Blah blah. He's like having this weird bloodlust for some reason. Which we'll find out later.
His friends were like not about it until this happens.
Yeah, their friends want to get out of here.
After talk to him, leans on the broken beam from earlier. Mm-hmm. Boom! Nail straight to the head.
Nail straight to the face.
So the cop comes running out of the door, all wobbly-legged, with a board impaled into his head.
And of course, that's what the college kid sees. They think that they killed him.
Yeah.
Dale said, they're like, how's he even walking right now?
Right.
I think he's going to walk it off. He's going to be fine.
Cop grabs the radio, presses the button, and dies.
One of the dumb college kids grabs the sheriff's gun, accidentally tries to see why it's not shooting, shoots himself in the face by accident.
Because Dale was like,
the safety's on.
You gotta turn the safety off. It's like, really?
Blows his face off.
Shoots himself in the head. Oh, man. Someone should have taught that gun safety.
All right, so now how many college kids are we down? We have Allison, who was got knocked out after all. She only wakes up after all the commotion is done. You have Chad.
So one black guy, black girl, and then Chloe.
And Chloe. So they're all trying to regroup. Each group is now off trying to think, all right, what do we do from here? And Allison is trying to be like, Allison explains why they're thinking the way they're thinking. Because Tucker and Dale are like, why would they think that we're trying to kill you?
Yeah.
And Allison is basically like, well, when we saw you at the gas station, convenience store thing, we all thought you guys looked weird, and we thought that, so, that kind of, makes Dale feel like bad. He's like, oh, I thought,
insecurity show and everything.
His insecurity, like, oh, I thought that, I had a chance with maybe a cool, girl like you, but, so they regroup. I'm trying to think of which,
college kids come back and, point the gun at, Dale's dog.
Oh, that's right. They take, they had a dog, old Buster, or it's an old hound dog.
They're like, give us the girl, or we're gonna kill your dog.
Dale
Dale starts shooting at him with a nail gun.
Mm-hmm.
Tucker goes around back to get the dog. Frees the dog, but he gets caught himself.
He gets caught himself by the college kids, and
They cut off his fingers and send it to
Dale.
Yeah.
They're like interrogating it, but I mean, at this point, there's no real way that you can talk yourself out of this because we know how it looks.
Yeah.
This is why it's kind of perfect because you realize, like, if you were in the college kid's perspective, you would think, oh, it's understandable that these hillbillies are killing our friends. And as ones who know what's going on, you're like, well, how would you explain this to them?
Yeah.
They strung up Tucker. He's like hanging upside down out in the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
They send Dale's or send Tucker's finger to Dale, and now Dale's like, well, I gotta go get him.
Yeah,
that's my boy.
Yeah. They set a trap.
They set a trap, which luckily, he
didn't work.
It didn't
Missed
work
by a very, very little.
Very, very little. While that's happening, Chad gets to the cabin and is trying to get Allison. All right, we're here to rescue you. And by this point, he had already tried to shoot a very creepy shot with Allison.
Yeah.
Like, he had tried to, like, hit on her.
Almost, like, forced himself on her at the campsite earlier, yeah.
He did everything but force himself. He was about to.
Yeah.
And she turned him down. He's like, hey, I'm here to rescue you. And she's trying to explain to him, hey, look, it's not what you think. These guys are nice.
And they're like, you got Stockholm Syndrome.
He's like, it's where you fall in love with your captors. And it's funny.
Sets Chad off even more. Turn me down, but not them.
Yeah, which pisses him off more.
So he grabs a gas can, starts dumping gas all over the place.
Getting ready to burn it.
Tucker and Dale come back, finally.
Mm-hmm.
And Allison gets him to sit down for a cup of tea.
Even though Tucker's feeling some kind of way.
Yeah.
His finger got chopped off. This was supposed to be the weekend that he's just out with his best friend, like fixing up his summer home.
It's not going his way at all. He is not happy.
Chad and this is where it's funny because she's trying to be a psychology major and she's like, this would be a good time. Why don't we all just sit down and talk about our feelings and talk about why we feel a certain way? And
then you find out Chad's mom was the one survivor from the earlier massacre.
I think you find that out later.
No, when they sit down at the table, he tells the story about his mom being the survivor. And having to be born in a sane asylum and raised by his grandparents. You find out the story about his father later.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, the mom was the survivor of all that, and she went crazy and had him in an insane asylum. And
Dale's just like, I'm sorry all that happened.
He's like, I wasn't even born.
Yeah, I know that, but it's your kind.
No, he said I would have been like 5 when that happened.
Yeah.
and Chad gets pissed off again, and then he tries to attack, Dale, and
he doesn't start to attack until the other two friends come in.
Oh yeah, they like the dumbass.
They see him talking, and they're like, "Oh, they're all trapped in there. Gotta save them."
He busts in.
Yeah.
One of them gets. I think the girl gets the weed eater to the face.
Yeah, he runs out with the weed eater. Tucker's the one who ducks, and the girl gets a weed eater to the face.
The other guy gets set on fire because they're trying to set this place on fire. Who throws the Molotov at him? Was it Chad?
No, it was the other girl, Chloe. She grabs a mason jar, looks like water. Right. Actually, moonshine. Fire intensifies.
Burns that guy alive.
Yeah. So she lights a cigarette with the flame. And
pretty much the whole place explodes. Chad gets out, Allison gets out, Tucker, Dale get out.
Yeah.
But everybody else pretty much either got exploded in that or fired, or the one girl who got weed-eated to the face.
So Tucker and Dale and Allison all drive away in the truck, get into a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
Chad takes Allison. That son of a bitch.
At this point, Chad is just full on it's not about escape anymore. He's just this dude's just bloodlusted.
He's gonna kill these people. He's gonna probably kill Allison too
because she's turned over to the dark side.
Yeah.
There's like an abandoned sawmill.
Yeah, it's abandoned sawmill. He takes her too.
Tucker's in worse shape now.
Yeah. Tucker has to be left behind, but he tells Dale, "Go get her."
Yeah, basically gives Dale the pep talk, saying, you're better than you think you are. You just let your insecurities get the better of you is all.
Real nice chat, yeah.
Yeah, these two, they'll Tucker does should talk Dale sometimes, but at the very end they are best friends, and he
really
does
good friends, yeah.
And he does build him up when he needs to. And even in the beginning, he was saying, "Hey, look, you just need to have some confidence. Just go over there and talk to him." He sees the potential in Dale and has been trying to get it out of him for a while.
Yeah,
it's Dale to the rescue.
Dale comes to the rescue with a welding mask on, some paddings, and axe. Looks super intimidating.
That's the picture you see on the cover art for Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
He walks into the sawmill, sees Allison saw to a table. She's screaming. He rips up his mask. He's like, hey, just me. She's
like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. She's like, why are you dressed like that?
Kind of looks scary.
Yeah. Very innocent, like just trying to be a little intimidating. He can't untie her nap. Yeah. He can't untie the knot. So Chad starts the table, and as it's sawing, Tucker just says, screw it, throws an axe at the rope. Clean shot.
Good shot.
Yeah. Saves Allison, and then they start running from Chad.
They end up in what I imagine is the manager's office.
Yeah.
Where there's all of this. I love this does what a lot of funny horror movies do, but I think it was to make fun of it, because all of this evidence is just laid out.
They find a newspaper article with the man who committed the massacres.
So we find
just like Chad.
We find out that Chad's dad was the hillbilly. Is it that he raped his mother?
He raped his mother, yeah.
And then, I think he says what the funniest thing. He says that Chad is part hillbilly.
Yeah, you're part hillbilly too.
You're part hill. I don't know why that term "part hillbilly" just makes me laugh every time. It's like hillbilly is a race. You're part hillbilly.
And Chad starts raging up again, so Dale throws lavender tea at him, which causes an asthma attack. He's like, yeah, I did it because it caused an asthma attack. As long as we get him his inhaler, he'll be fine. Chad falls out a window.
And the reason why he knows that is just because
he just knows random facts. That's like
Trivial Pursuit's his favorite game in the world, and he knows all the answers to it.
Yeah.
Chad falls out and seemingly dies.
Yeah.
Fast forward a couple of days, Tucker's in the hospital. He got his finger reattached, but it wasn't his finger.
Well, he got two fingers cut off. One attached was his. One was one of the girls from the explosion.
It was because they were specifically saying it was his bowling fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of his fingers is I guess it was probably Chloe's.
Yeah, and he was like, "Does this finger look off to you?" It has like a long red fake nail on there.
He's under some anesthesia. Dale and Allison are kind of going steady.
Yeah, they go on a bowling date.
Very cute. And it's kind of left as a little happy ending, except we find out at the end that Chad is still out there. Chad is still out there haunting the woods.
Yeah.
Half his face burnt off.
Story, yeah.
Half his face burnt off. And that's just kind of how it ends. It turns out the college fraternity dude was part hillbilly, and now he's the hillbilly that stalks the woods.
Yeah. Fucking Chad.
Like I said, it goes without saying, I love this movie.
It is a fun movie.
And I try to think, all right, so what do I like about this more so than Cabin in the Woods? It's probably the characters, in all honesty. Tucker and Dale are just very likable characters.
See, I think it is Killing in Cabin in the Woods that has me pushed over the edge of this movie for me.
Well, Cabin in the Woods definitely has a lot more going for it in terms of whether it be, they definitely have a lot more money. Cabin in the Woods pays fan service to pretty much every bit of what horror people like. Like, they have every single type of creature out there.
Yeah.
So when you get to that elevator scene, you're like, oh my God.
Go, yeah.
We did our Cabin in the Woods thing where you're just like, oh, just please press that button. And then for the next 10 minutes, you just see everything that you want to see.
And it's great.
Tucker and Dale is very much smaller scale. Would you say it's fair to put it on the same level, not level, but the same kind of category as Leslie Vernon?
Yeah.
Because it is taking like horror tropes and explaining why certain tropes are like this is like in this one it was like it's all a misunderstanding.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd put it in the level of Leslie Vernon. Has a little bit more budget than Leslie Vernon, but Cabin in the Woods budget was like 6 times the amount of Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
And you said it came out around the same time.
Yeah, both around 2011, 2012.
So yeah, it was a good 2 years for like horror comedy.
Yeah. I think Leslie Vernon though came out like 06.
How about all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and exclude the wood chipper scene, which is my favorite scene.
That's the best scene in the movie.
Oh, let me think of my other death or other scene of the movie. Oh, it's definitely explaining it to the cop.
Yeah, that is a great scene.
Just when out of nowhere, these kids started killing themselves all over my property.
Right.
And they're just explaining, there's a guy over there that's in the wood chipper. There's a guy who impaled himself over there.
Yeah. And he just jumped into the trench himself and impaled himself.
He's like, you must think I'm some kind of moron to believe something like that. No, sir, just maybe open-minded.
Yeah.
So that's my second favorite scene.
Yeah.
Would that be yours as well?
That or when Tucker comes running out with the chainsaw.
Mm-hmm.
That scene's great too. Cause
he just legit looks like a crazy person.
Yeah. He's just trying to get away from the bees, but yeah.
I think it's safe to say that I think our wheelhouse is probably a lot more horror comedy.
We do love our horror comedies on this channel.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was just because we've been reviewing more as of late.
Well, last one was The Menu, so.
Then we also had Tremors but I think we've also said that a lot of the horror movies have some elements of comedy in them.
Yeah.
Oh, let's get to ratings.
Our ratings, okay.
Technicals.
I'm
gonna go 7.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on a 7. That's what I was thinking too.
It's not good enough to put at an 8, but they're not bad. So they're pretty okay technicals. Nothing too fancy, but nothing ambitious really either.
Yeah.
It's competent, I'll say that.
Story, I'm probably going to give it 8.5.
Yeah.
Such an out-of-the-box... It's a simple story, but it's outside of the box of the simple story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I said 8 as well.
All right.
Yeah, it's hilarious to me. I would give it 8.5, but I think 8's fine for me.
Okay.
But I will say 8.5 for enjoyment, though.
Yeah, I'm right there, 8.5 for enjoyment, too.
I think like I've made this comparison before, but it'd be like Cabin in the Woods is like Godfather, and this movie to me is like Goodfellas, in that I've watched Goodfellas way more than I've seen Godfather, and I don't know why. It just hits me in all the right spots. So maybe also comparatively, what's the running time for both of these?
Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is 89 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And Cabin in the Woods is 95 minutes.
Oh, so they're roughly the same.
Yeah. 6-minute difference, yeah.
They're both not, an hour and a half is pretty much the standard.
Yeah.
For, like, how long a horror movie usually is, so. Yeah, again, maybe it's just one of those unexplained things where it's just, hey, you like what you like, and I just happen to watch Tucker and Dale way more than Cabin.
Yeah.
I think Tucker and Dale is one of those where I could just watch by myself, but Cabin in the Woods, I can watch by myself, but it's a lot more fun if you have a group of people.
Yeah. And our average score together is 23.5 out of 30, so that's a pretty high score.
Pretty nice score. I took a chance and watched this movie with my mother one time, and I was so happy when she laughed her ass off at that wood chipper scene.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yes, good. I was like, she has some good taste. I was like, because it's like she had to catch her breath. She was laughing so hard at that wood chipper scene. Oh, but that was I like the way I ended it out.
Yeah.
But Dave, you're gonna be bringing us home.
Okay.
Are you like juggling between 2 or 3 of them?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
While you're thinking, I can tell you what I was gonna have.
Yeah.
Initially, I was gonna have the first Saw movie, but I feel like I can save that one for a different day. The ones that I picked, I think, were ones that aren't like the main ones that usually get up in discussion. Like 1408, usually people like The Shining when it comes to haunted hotels. Tremors, It has its followers, but I don't think it's appreciated nearly enough. And Tucker and Dale usually gets overshadowed by Cabin in the Woods. So.
Yeah. Should have probably thought about this before we started recording and what was going to be my next.
Yeah, it's all right. We'll just cut out the dead air. Sometimes I get it. Sometimes you need to. I thought I was going to have to.
I got it.
Okay.
So this is kind of a guilty pleasure by me, but we are going to be watching House on the Haunted Hill, the remake. Not the Vincent Price one, the one from 2001.
I don't think I've seen the... I always get that mixed up with The Haunting. With Liam Neeson, I think, is the one with The Haunting. So
yeah, Liam Neeson is not in this movie.
House on Haunted Hill, the remake. Hey,
yes.
You know what? I'm sure there's remakes out there that if you like what you like.
I love this one. So I've watched it at least once a year, every year since I was a kid. So
now, I mean, while still giving the original its flowers, which one do you honestly prefer? Like, if you had the two sitting in front of you, which would, like, if you were at home watching it yourself, would you pick the Vincent Price one or this one that we're gonna watch?
Depends on my mood. If I'm just throwing something on for I'm doing something else, I'll probably do the remake.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm actually gonna sit down and get invested, it'll be the Vincent Price one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all right, so this is gonna be our final pick of, that's 3 movies down to each of us, which you started out with Summer of '84, then you followed up with The Menu,
which are 2
completely
great films, and then I'm ending it with a movie I know isn't a great film, but I do love.
But that's what it is. That's why I like this podcast. It's like, hey, look, sometimes this ain't going to be a critically acclaimed movie, I know, but I just want to put it out there and talk about it.
Yeah.
Is that on Shudder?
I have no idea what it's on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be a fun one, too. That'll be a fun one so we can also compare it with the Vincent Price one. That'll be a good, kind of old versus new discussion.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know if we've done that. We've done that with, House of Wax.
Yeah, House of Wax we did that with, yeah.
So, that'll be a good one. We haven't done that one since season 1, then.
Yeah.
Or season 2, I think, rather.
Yeah.
Because Haley Newland came back on the show for
the House of Wax, yeah.
But, that'll be fun. Thanks again, and we got our homework to do. Thank you guys again, everybody who's following us still. Hope to see you again.
Have a good week, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to Bodybag Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave us a comment as to what you'd like to hear us review or any horror movie topics you'd like to hear us rant and rave about.
And while you're at it, you can find us on Twitter at Bodybag Pod and on Instagram at Bodybag Podcast.
Thanks, and we'll see you next time.